Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for your private messages that have come through from a few of the little posts that I've put up. I'm really happy to hear that you're feeling some sense of support at this very interesting time on the earth plane. And I just really wanted to continue with these little posts to reassure people and to perhaps do my little bit to explain to you as an energy intuitive what I feel is really going on right now, because that big question is going on for all of us. Oh, what on earth is this all about? And I think if you were someone who really understands how to listen to oneself, then most people, I feel, will have already felt for the last few years that life seems to be getting very much out of control. And considering we're a world that has so much, we seem to have lost that connection to what really matters. And this racetrack that we've been living on for quite a long time now is simply not serving any of us very well. And I was reminded this morning when I went to the beach with a friend and kind of walked down to the water. It was very quiet and was kind of a little bit eerie because it was very quiet, and we walked down to the ocean and put our feet in the ocean, and I felt in that moment a few tears well up inside me, but they weren't tears of sorrow. They were tears of joy as I gazed out onto that beautiful ocean and I let my mind meet with the sound of that rolling, gentle wave that was coming into the shore. And as I gazed out on that ocean, it was like that ocean was talking to me. It was like she was saying, you know what, I'm still here. I'm still rolling my waves to the sea and to the shore, and the sand is still under your feet, Wendy, and the birds were flying over my head, and I was still breathing the air, and I was breathing in the sunshine. And I started to think about the fact that the sea and the sand and the sunshine and the trees didn't know there was an epidemic. And that is because the infinite nature of life is always in a process of creation. She's never in a process of destruction. She's always in a process of creation. And that led me to think about, okay, so if I'm feeling this very emotional shift on the inside of me, which actually feels joyful, it was like I felt I was always going to see this time in my life when I would see this world have to rethink how it's been behaving. And it is a wonderful opportunity for each of us, no matter how much we want to fight and rail against it and be angry about things. It's kind of amusing because this is a really big reset of the compass of the globe, and it is time for such a thing as reorganization. A readjustment, if you will, of the realignment to our innermost soul and what is actually healthy and good and life-giving to our soul, but also not to just to our soul, but to the soul of the earth, the soul of the universe, and the greater collecting of energy is coming together to go, you know what? I'm in control here now, and you all need to listen to me. And if we go a little bit further with that thought, if we are just conscious beings that are part of the greater consciousness, then that consciousness, you see, has manifested this dis-ease, this germ or this virus, so that we would manifest a way to slow ourselves down. And I know many of you out there are going to go, what a lot of nonsense, that's just not true, that's not, well, actually it is true, and that's what happens is, as a collective consciousness, we must bring forth the changes in this time that not only our world requires, but our future world requires for our future generations. And all of you amazing people are part of this incredibly amazing shift. This shift is taking its own level of control, and there's nothing any of us can do about it except decide to yield. When we decide to yield, when we decide to accept that this is how things are right now, and that, okay, I might be in a bit of a bad movie, and maybe I'm watching a big typhoon come into my life, and I'm standing over here and I'm watching this typhoon come in, and I'm watching it rearrange the world and the way we think about our world and the way we're going to treat our world. And then I'm also just watching it blow itself out again just as quickly as it blew itself in. And if you can maybe, instead of having a judgment about this and a lot of opinions about this and a lot of anger about this, and you can reset to, wow, this is an incredibly interesting time. Because I know that as a soul, you are an incredibly amazing, marvelous creation of wellness and joy and light. That is what you came here to be. But in our racetrack of the world, we've launched into things that are not important. We've launched into competition with each other. We've launched into not listening to each other. We've launched into even losing our communication skills, because I don't know about you, if I glance around me, people are just on their phones all the time. They're not talking to their children in the pram. They're not talking to their children. They're not talking to each other. And I would feel very privileged to grow up in a world where we didn't have those things. We just grew up with beautiful games to play. And, you know, I grew up with a dress-up box and a tea set and friends up the street and billy carts and bicycles and fresh air and things like Scrabble and Monopoly. And so those were still interactive ways of being together as a community. And right now we are no longer a community that looks after each other. And we're certainly not a community that cares about what's happening to our great Mother Earth. And I know that deep within you, deep within the soul of you, there is a part of you that's longing for your life to be easier than this. To be more aligned and more able to actually enter that quiet space and be comfortable with that quiet space, to allow yourself to be comfortable with silence, to allow yourself to be comfortable with stillness. This reorganization, this readjustment, this reset of the compass is screaming at us that we need to change the way we are approaching this life. For our own wellness, for our own well state of being, for our own well state of mind, we need to heed and yield to the message that is going on here. Rather than railing against what you cannot change, learn how to yield to the changing current of that wind. Learn how to stand on that beach and just hear the voice of the sea. Hear the voice of the breeze. Hear the voice of nature all around you, and hear the voice of nature within you. And whilst we are all being careful and cautious and respectful, and we're not underestimating how big this big change is, I would take a really big step back in yourself and go, wow, I'm watching something amazing happening to my earth right now, and I'm going to do everything I can to assist this and to join the silence. I'm going to recollect myself and I'm going to reset my inner compass, and I'm going to decide what is now the way I need to do my life for the richness of myself and the richness of my family and those around me. So I'll talk to you again really soon, people. Stay kind, stay respectful, stay well. That is your right. Much love.